Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing your life is completely different. Not magically, not by luck, but because of one simple strategy you didn't know existed. You ever notice something strange about the world of money? Not the markets, not the economy, not the headlines. I'm talking about the feeling, that quiet, heavy, suffocating feeling you get whenever the topic of money comes up. Like you're always a step behind, always missing something, always trying to decode a game everyone else seems to understand. But here's the truth. You're not missing anything. They're hiding everything. See, the financial industry doesn't want you broke. No, broke people are useless to them. But confused people are the most profitable product on earth. Because confusion does something powerful. It makes you pause. It makes you doubt. It makes you hand responsibility over to someone who sounds more confident than you. And that is the business model. They don't teach you how money works. They teach you how to feel overwhelmed by it. Why? Because a confused mind doesn't make decisions, it signs contracts. It buys products. It subscribes to services. It follows experts. It panics at crashes. It chases hype during booms. And no matter what happens, recession, inflation, bull market, bear market, one thing never changes. They collect the fees. They win the game. And you stay inside the maze. You think the chaos is a glitch? It isn't. The chaos is the strategy. Because there's nothing more dangerous to the financial system than a person who understands how simple wealth actually is. That's the part they refuse to tell you. Money grows in silence. Markets rise more than they fall. Your success has almost nothing to do with intelligence and almost everything to do with behavior. But if they told you that, if they revealed how boring, how simple long-term wealth really is, you wouldn't panic. You wouldn't chase trends. You wouldn't need them. So they feed you a constant, this time it's different. This crash is the big one. This opportunity will never come again. Act now before you miss out. Fear when you should be calm. Excitement when you should be cautious. Confusion when you should be clear. It's a system engineered to keep you off balance, just enough to keep you dependent. But here's the twist. They never expect you to discover. Confusion ends the moment you understand the game isn't complex, it's intentional. And once you see how the system manipulates your emotions, you stop reacting like a customer and start thinking like the people who actually profit from the chaos. Everyone talks about market crashes like they're natural disasters, random, terrifying, unstoppable. But here's something the financial world never says out loud. Crises don't create chaos. They expose it. They reveal who understands the game and who only thinks they do. Because when the world starts shaking, two groups emerge, the ones who freeze and the ones who move. And the difference between them has nothing to do with IQ, luck, or timing. It's about perception. What looks like danger to one group looks like opportunity to the other. Think about every crisis you've lived through. The news screams, people panic, markets drop, and suddenly everyone becomes a prophet of doom. But behind the scenes, the wealthy aren't panicking. They're preparing. They're watching. They're waiting for the exact moment when fear reaches its peak, because that's when everything becomes mispriced. Not just stocks, not just assets, people, decisions, time, courage. Crashes don't destroy wealth, they transfer it. This is the part the system hides from you. Volatility is not the enemy, your reaction to it is. The financial industry wants you to believe every dip is a disaster because fear makes you outsource your thinking. Fear makes you sell low and buy high. Fear makes you hand control to people who profit from your uncertainty. And the greatest irony? The same firms that tell you to act now before things get worse are usually buying the very assets they told you to be afraid of. Crashes are not unpredictable. They are not mysterious. They follow patterns, cycles, human behavior. The wealthy understand this. They know markets don't fall because the world is ending. They fall because people think the world is ending. That's why the truly wealthy don't study charts first. They study psychology. They watch sentiment. They watch panic. They watch emotion. Because money doesn't flow where logic is. It flows where fear is. The average person experiences a crisis emotionally. The wealthy experience it strategically. And here's the twist. They're not braver, smarter, or luckier. They're simply prepared. They expect chaos. They plan for it. They wait for it. They build their entire strategy around the moments when everyone else loses their balance. Because when the crowd moves in one direction, opportunity always appears in the opposite one. But you've been taught to see crises as threats. You've been conditioned to think, pull back, be safe, wait until things stabilize. That's the language of someone meant to stay small. The wealthy don't ask, is this safe? They ask, what is mispriced right now? They don't ask, what if it gets worse? They ask, what will this look like to everyone else once the panic fades? And that's the shift you're about to learn, the shift that turns fear into clarity and chaos into advantage. Because once you stop viewing crises emotionally and start viewing them structurally, you unlock the same vision the wealthy use to escape the confusion machine altogether. The mindset shift. The system fears most. Most people believe wealth starts with money. It doesn't. Wealth starts with how you think, long before it shows up in your bank account. But nobody tells you this because a population that thinks independently is impossible to control. The financial system doesn't crumble when the market crashes. It crumbles when ordinary people stop thinking the way they've been trained to think. And that's why the most powerful shift you'll ever make is internal, not financial. The moment you stop reacting emotionally and start analyzing structurally, see, the average person believes feelings are facts. If the market drops, they feel danger. If the news sounds dramatic, they feel urgency. If everyone else is panicking, they feel like they should, too. This is not stupidity. This is conditioning. You've been raised in a world where your instincts are shaped by headlines, groupthink, and fear cycles, and the system profits from your reflexes. Because the easier you are to influence, the easier you are to monetize. But wealthy people operate on a different plane entirely. They don't take action based on feelings, they take action based on frameworks. They don't think in terms of good or bad markets, only mispriced markets. They don't ask, how do I avoid losing? They ask, what is the opportunity in this moment that fear is hiding? And this single difference in mindset creates a gap between the rich and everyone else that widens every time the world gets chaotic. The truth is, the wealthy aren't calmer by nature, they're calmer by design. They build systems that remove emotional decision-making entirely. They automate their investing. They predefine their entry points. They pre-plan what to do during crashes. They have rules, not reactions. And here's the part nobody teaches. A rule-based mindset is the only real armor in an unpredictable world. Because rules don't care about fear, noise, or confusion. Rules simply execute. But the system doesn't want you thinking this way. Because if you treat wealth like a long-term, rule-based game, if you stop reacting to every headline, if you learn to stay calm when everyone else is screaming, you stop needing them. You stop buying their panic products. You stop chasing their urgent opportunities. You stop feeding the confusion machine they've built to keep you dependent. This is why almost every wealthy person, from investors to entrepreneurs to fund managers, repeats one hidden truth. Your mindset matters more than the market. Not because mindset magically creates money, but because mindset controls behavior and behavior controls outcomes. The market doesn't care about your intelligence. It doesn't care about your education. It cares only about your actions, especially in moments when your emotions want to hijack your decision-making. And that's the shift you're starting to make now. The shift from fear to clarity, from reaction to structure, from confusion to control. Once you master this mindset, the system loses its power over you. Because the moment you stop being emotionally predictable, you become financially unstoppable. The signals only the wealthy pay attention to. Everyday people wait for certainty before acting. Wealthy people wait for signals, not news, not predictions, not expert guesses wrapped in complicated charts. Signals, the hidden markers in human behavior, market psychology, and price movement that reveal what's really happening long before the headlines catch up. And these signals aren't secret, they're just ignored, drowned under the noise that keeps most people confused and reactive. The first signal the wealthy watch is sentiment, not statistics. Because markets don't turn when the data changes, they turn when human emotion hits an extreme. When fear is everywhere, when people stop thinking logically, when every conversation sounds like the world is ending, that's when wealthy people lean forward. Not because they're reckless, but because they understand this fundamental truth. Emotion peaks before prices reverse. By the time the news calls it a crisis, the wealthy already saw the signal weeks ago. The second signal is dislocation, the moment when price and value disconnect. Most people only see a falling stock, but wealthy people see mispricing. They look for assets that drop not because they're weak, but because the entire crowd is selling everything out of panic, like people running from a fire that isn't even in their building. Dislocation is the wealthy person's favorite moment, because it turns chaos into a clearance sale. The third signal is forced behavior, when institutions, funds, or retail investors are forced to sell, buy, or reposition due to pressure rather than strategy. Forced moves create volatility. So, volatility creates opportunity. The wealthy monitor these pressure points like a cardiologist reading an ECG. They don't wait for calm. They anticipate where the pressure is building and position themselves before the release. But the most important signal of all, the one the wealthy respect more than any chart, index, or earnings report, is liquidity. They know markets don't move because of opinions. They move because of money flows. When liquidity tightens, fear rises. When liquidity expands, confidence surges. Most investors panic when markets drop. The wealthy simply ask, is liquidity leaving or entering? Because that single question tells them more than any analyst on TV ever could. Here's the part the system never teaches. You don't need to predict the future to invest intelligently. You only need to read the signals that reveal where fear, value, pressure, and liquidity are shifting. These signals don't guarantee outcomes. Nothing does, but they remove the blindfold. They let you see what the wealthy see, not chaos, but structure. And once you learn to read these signals, you stop moving with the crowd and start moving ahead of it. You stop reacting to headlines and start anticipating the behavior behind them. You stop being confused and start being strategic. Because wealth doesn't come from knowing the future. It comes from recognizing the moment when everyone else is looking the wrong way. The hidden behaviors that quietly make people wealthy. People love to believe wealth is some combination of luck, intelligence, or being born into the right family. It's comforting to think that. It lets you avoid responsibility. But if you study people who actually built wealth from nothing, truly built it, you'll notice something fascinating. Their success didn't start with a big opportunity. It started with small behaviors, quiet habits, invisible disciplines. The things nobody claps for, nobody notices, nobody celebrates, but compound in the background until one day they explode into results that look sudden. Most people chase dramatic changes. Wealthy people chase consistent behaviors. The average person asks, what's the fastest way to get rich? The wealthy ask, What's the behavior I can repeat for the next 10 years without burning out? And that's the difference. Wealth doesn't respond to urgency, it responds to consistency. You can't hack your way into stability. You build it through behaviors that feel boring, unsexy, and often invisible until they aren't, and then hurt. One of these behaviors is delayed reaction, the ability to pause when everyone else is responding instantly. When the world panics, the average person acts impulsively. But wealthy people have trained themselves to wait, to breathe, to observe. They know that emotional reactions are expensive. The cost isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in bad decisions, missed opportunities, and irreversible mistakes. A delayed reaction isn't weakness, it's a weapon. Another behavior is pre-commitment, making decisions before emotions get involved. Wealthy people don't rely on willpower in the moment. They set rules ahead of time. How much they'll save, how much they'll invest, what they'll buy, what they'll ignore. They design their financial life the same way engineers design systems. Predictable, resilient, emotion-proof. Pre-commitment protects them from their worst impulses. Most people sabotage themselves with decisions made in heat. Wealthy people avoid the heat entirely. The third behavior is habitual simplicity. The wealthy know something the system never tells you. Complexity is a trap. It keeps you overwhelmed. It keeps you dependent. It keeps you confused. So wealthy people simplify everything, their decisions, their goals, their investments, their lifestyle. They eliminate noise. They eliminate unnecessary choices. They eliminate distractions masquerading as opportunities. Simplicity isn't minimalism. It's optimization. The fourth behavior, learning without ego. Wealthy people remain students forever. They don't pretend to know everything. They don't tie their identity to being right. They watch, study, adjust, refine. They treat new information as a tool, not a threat. Meanwhile, the average person is too proud to learn and too insecure to admit what they don't know. Ego keeps people trapped. Curiosity sets people free. And then there's the most underrated behavior of all, quiet obsession. Wealthy people don't scream about their goals. They work on them silently, relentlessly, without applause. They don't need validation, they need progress. That's why they grow while others stagnate. Because consistency beats intensity. Structure beats excitement. Behavior beats dreams. And once you adopt the behaviors the wealthy rely on, you stop waiting for a lucky moment and start creating your own. The system that keeps you running in circles. There's a reason most people work their entire lives yet never feel financially safe. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're irresponsible. And it's definitely not because they're bad with money. No, the real reason is far simpler and far more frightening. The system is designed to keep you running in circles. Not failing, just never quite succeeding. Not drowning, just never getting out of the water. It's the perfect trap, one that feels normal, because everyone around you is caught in it too. Think about it. You're told to get educated, then you're told to get a job. Then you're told to save what's left after taxes and bills. Then you're told to invest whatever tiny amount remains into a maze of financial options you were never truly taught to understand. You're placed on a treadmill and convinced it's a path. And the worst part, they tell you to be grateful for it. They tell you stability is noble, that slow and steady is the only respectable way. But they forget to mention that the rules of the game were written without your consent. And customers, you are a customer before you are a citizen, before you are a worker, before you are anything else. Every system you interact with is built around extracting just enough from you to keep you compliant, but not enough to break you. You earn money so other people can bill you for it. You save money so inflation can quietly drain it. You invest money so institutions can skim fees off the top before you even see a return. Most people feel this, even if they can't articulate it. That nagging sensation that no matter how hard you work, you're always one crisis away from losing everything. That's not an accident, that's leverage. If you're stressed, you're controllable. If you're confused, you're manageable. And if you stay on the treadmill long enough, you won't have the time, energy, or clarity to question why the treadmill exists in the first place. Wealthy people escape the trap because they understand something the system never teaches. The game's goal isn't to make you wealthy. It's to keep you participating. The moment you stop relying on hourly wages, monthly paychecks, or reactive financial decisions, you become unprofitable to the system. That's why wealthy people focus on ownership, cash flow, assets, systems that pay them instead of demanding their time. They step off the treadmill and build a path of their own. But here's the twist. Escaping doesn't start with money. It starts with awareness. The moment you see the pattern clearly, you stop running. The moment you understand the structure, you stop playing by rules designed to limit you. Because the system only works if you stay distracted, exhausted, overwhelmed, and hopeful enough to keep participating without questioning anything. And once you see the treadmill for what it is, a cycle, not a path, you begin the shift. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop being a participant and start becoming an architect. The rules the wealthy use that no one ever teaches you. By the time most people start learning about money, they're already trapped inside a system designed to confuse them. They're taught products, not principles. They're taught tactics, not rules. They're taught what to buy, but never how to think. Meanwhile, the wealthy operate by a completely different playbook, a set of rules so simple and so elegant that once you understand them, the entire financial world stops looking like chaos and starts looking like a pattern. The first rule the wealthy follow is protect the principal at all costs. Not the investment principle, their mental principle, their clarity, their calm, their decision-making strength. Because once your mind is compromised, every decision after becomes fragile. The wealthy guard their mental stability the same way a warrior guards his weapon. They know that panic is more expensive than any bear market, and clarity is more profitable than any bull run. The second rule is never rely on one source, not one job, not one market, not one income stream, not one economic story. The average person has one pipeline of income, and the system knows this. That's why fear works on them. But wealthy people build layers. If one stream slows, another supports it. If one asset drops, another offsets it. Diversification is not about complexity. It's about power. It's about making your financial life unbreakable. The third rule is money must circulate, not stagnate. Most people hoard. They save out of fear, not strategy. But wealthy people understand that money is a tool, and a tool must be used. Money that sits still is money that shrinks. So they put capital into motion, into assets, into businesses, into systems, into anything that multiplies. The wealthy don't worship money, they deploy it. That's why it grows. The fourth rule: separate emotion from execution. Wealthy people feel fear just like everyone else. They feel uncertainty, doubt, anxiety, but they don't act on those emotions. They detach feelings from decisions. They evaluate, they observe, they wait for alignment, and then they execute based on their rules, not their impulses. The average person collapses in moments of volatility. The wealthy are built for those moments. The fifth rule is the most misunderstood of all. Never chase position. Average people chase opportunities, chase trends, chase predictions, chase whatever the crowd is excited about. Wealthy people do the opposite. They position themselves before the crowd arrives. They accumulate before the demand hits. They prepare before the noise begins. They know that wealth doesn't come from speed, it comes from timing, and timing is born from preparation, not adrenaline. And the final rule, the one almost nobody understands: wealth is built on systems, not intensity. The average person pushes hard, burns out, starts again, burns out again. But wealthy people build machines, automations, routines, structures that generate progress even while they sleep. Because once money is tied to your time, you'll always be trapped. But once money is tied to a system, you become free. By now, you're beginning to realize that wealth isn't about luck, talent, or intelligence alone. It's about invisible moves, small actions repeated consistently, that compound silently over time until they create outcomes that look like magic to everyone else. The difference between the average person and the wealthy isn't opportunity, it's awareness. It's knowing which moves matter and which are distractions designed to drain your energy. Let's start with the first subtle move: leverage knowledge, not effort. Most people trade time for money, thinking that more hours worked equals more progress. The wealthy know that effort is cheap, but knowledge is expensive. They read, they research, they question, they seek expertise in places most people overlook. One well-placed idea can outperform hundreds of hours of work. And here's the secret: knowledge compounds. The more you learn, the more doors open, the more decisions get easier, and the less you need to grind blindly. The second move: recognize patterns before they appear. Everyone sees trends after they're obvious. The wealthy see them early, sometimes years before the headlines catch up. They study behavior, economics, and human nature like it's a map. They know that human emotion repeats predictably. Fear and greed are universal constants. When everyone else panics, the wealthy are calm. When everyone else rushes, they wait. Pattern recognition is not luck, it's preparation meeting patience. When everyone else panics, the wealthy are calm. When everyone else rushes, they wait. Pattern recognition is not luck, it's preparation meeting patience. The third move is deceptively simple: say no more than yes. Opportunities are everywhere, but the average person thinks opportunity equals action. The wealthy know that clarity is born from restraint. Every no is a shield against distraction, a force multiplier for the next big yes. Saying no to the wrong things, toxic partnerships, low-value hustles, flashy trends create space for what truly moves the needle. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's profitable. Fourth, invest in your identity. You cannot think like a wealthy person while acting like a spender. You cannot become a creator while living as a consumer. Every habit you form, every skill you acquire, every micro decision you make is an investment in who you are becoming. Wealth is a reflection of your identity. Change the person you are, and the money inevitably follows. The wealthy don't just build accounts, they build versions of themselves, capable of holding wealth. Finally, the fifth move: time is the ultimate currency. And money can be replaced. Opportunity can reappear. Time, never. The wealthy guard their hours like treasure because every hour wasted compounds into years of lost potential. They automate, delegate, and focus on high-leverage activities. They understand that freedom is not just financial, it's temporal. And once you understand this, you'll realize that controlling your schedule is far more valuable than controlling your salary. The moment everything changes from ordinary to unstoppable, All the strategies, insights, and subtle moves we've explored up to now mean nothing if you don't take action. Knowledge without execution is like a car with no engine. It looks impressive but goes nowhere. The truth is harsh. Most people fail, not because they don't know, but because they delay. They wait for the perfect time, the right opportunity, the guaranteed win. The wealthy, they start today with what they have. Imperfection is the launch pad for excellence. Now, imagine yourself 1 year from now. 1 year of consistently making the small, invisible moves we've discussed. You've learned more, invested smarter, avoided distractions, and built habits that serve your long-term growth. Your finances aren't just healthier, your confidence, clarity, and control over life have skyrocketed. That's not imagination. That's the compounding effect of deliberate action. 1 year of focus creates results that feel like a decade of luck to everyone else. But here's the real truth that no one tells you. The enemy isn't money, opportunity, or competition. It's mediocrity within yourself. It's the inner voice that whispers, "Not yet, too risky, maybe later." That voice is louder than the market crash, louder than recession headlines, louder than every expert telling you to wait. The wealthy silence it not with luck, but with momentum. They move while others hesitate. They act while others debate. Momentum is the secret that transforms knowledge into fortune and hesitation into regret. This is where you make the decision that separates spectators from players. Are you going to keep hoping for change, waiting for some external signal that may never come? Or are you going to harness the subtle moves, the pattern recognition, the discipline, and the focus you've learned here, and start transforming your life right now? Every second you hesitate is opportunity slipping away. Every day wasted compounds into years of what-ifs. But every step forward compounds into wealth, freedom, and control, beyond what most even dream of. So here's the final rule, the ultimate principle that ties everything together. Wealth is not a number, it's a trajectory. It's the path you carve with your choices, habits, and relentless execution. Start small. Start imperfectly, but start today. Protect your time, guard your focus, invest in your identity. Make every yes count. Because the moment you begin, the momentum becomes unstoppable. And what once seemed impossible, financial freedom, control over your life, the ability to live on your terms, becomes inevitable. The only question left is this: will you be the person who watches the world get richer while waiting? Or will you be the person who steps forward, acts relentlessly, and becomes the wealth story everyone else only talks about? The choice is yours, but remember, it's the same choice every wealthy person made. They didn't wait, they moved, and so can you.